Well, Sabitzer is one of those players that United signed to come in on loan from Bayern Munich, and he's really enjoying his spell at Manchester United to an extent that he's going to hate to reject a move to return to Bayern Munich. Welcome to United Matters channel. How are you guys and where are you watching us from? I go by the names of Rokan David. Having a very shocking update coming in from Alejandro Garnacho that could see his season end at Manchester United. We are going to tell you why it's like that. And lastly, Scott McTominay, another huge update. He's going to be so much in the news, having scored 3 goals in his international in the international break. He is really going to be all over, and that has put him into the shop window that very many teams are interested in him, and United have given their stance onto Scott McTominay. So guys, how are you? How is your Saturday? Hope you're really enjoying it. Do you know that you're going to play 9 fixtures in the month of April? 9 fixtures in the month of April. In the Premier League, we are playing Newcastle. we are playing Brentford, Everton. There is Southampton, I think, and Brighton, right? Then we are having some other 2 games in the UEFA Europa League against Sevilla. There is an FA Cup semi-final. So we are playing 9 games in the month of April. So it shows you how hard and toxic it's going to be for United, and how the players returning from injury are going to help us really cope up onto this. So let's start it off from here. It's coming in from at Sport 1. They are telling us that Sabitzer, who joined Manchester United on loan in January as a replacement for the injured Eriksson, does not want to return to Bayern once his loan deal comes to an end. Obviously, we all know that he doesn't want to return, and he's a player that's going to hate to really be so much important to the squad, scoring his first goal against Fulham, and he's really enjoying his spell at a side known as Manchester United. But I was a little bit worried when the manager changed, because it was Nagelsmann who never wanted Sabitzer, never used him a lot at Bayern Munich. But when they changed their manager, I was a little bit worried, and there's a story that came in through that there would be a twist into the decision of whether Sabitzer returns to Manchester United, returns to Bayern Munich, or stays at Manchester United, because the new manager, Thomas Tuchel, might find him important to his squad. That's it. But this story coming in from Germany just indicates to you that Sabitzer has finally made up his mind that wants to stay at Manchester United, and obviously it really boils out into a situation that that the player wants to stay, and other worries that maybe Bayern Munich wants to keep him up are really powered down, because the player is telling them, however much you want to keep me up, I want to do my job at Manchester United. And that sends us a signal that maybe Ten Hag is impressed by Sabitzer and he knows the quality of the player. And because we are going to sell Scott McTominay at like 30 or 35 million pounds, we can get Sabitzer at 18 million pounds. And if at all you are told that Sabitzer is coming in as a backup, or a replacement for Scott McTominay, I think you'll all agree with the person that made that decision, because it's really an elite decision that deserves to be really respected every time it's done. And as it stands, to me, it is really something great for a side known as Manchester United. If I told you are selling Scott McTominay and you're bringing Sabitzer, that's a very huge upgrade into that midfield of Manchester United, because there is no way you tell me that Scott McTominay is better than Sabitzer. Sabitzer is really a very good talented player, and I think Ten Hag is going to have to recognize it, and that means we'll be making close to 17 or 15 million pounds of profit from selling Scott McTominay and replacing him. Then Sport 1 again has told us that Marcel Sabitzer is hoping to join Manchester United on a permanent basis in the summer transfer window when his loan deal comes to an end. Now, the most important bit is that he is up on a chip. He's up for grabs on a chip. 18 million pounds is the amount of money that we'll see. Is it even 18? Let me check. Euros to pounds. 20 million euros. All right. 17 million pounds is what Bayern Munich will go in for a player known as Marcel Sabitzer. Remember, they bought him from RB Leipzig at 10 million euros. They want to make some 10 million profit from the player. And secondly, if they sell him permanently, the wage will really get what we call a certain breather, because he earns 200,000 pounds a week. That is Sabitzer. But if at all he really signs permanent Manchester United, they would have gone ahead to get a breather onto that. So I believe it's really a very good deal. And if at all I'm Sabitzer, I would like to push it on to happen in favor of my team. And then the biggest positive out of that is coming in from Kelly. How are you? He's a chief reporter, and he's so close to Bayern Munich, telling us that Bayern will not put any obstacles in the way of Sabitzer if they receive an attractive offer. So it's confirmed, because this one is a correspondent of Bayern Munich. He knows everything that Bayern does and is being fed in by the club. He's telling us that Bayern will not put any obstacles into the move of Sabitzer to Manchester United. So it looks like the move of Sabitzer to Manchester United won't be blocked by Bayern Munich. They've given it green light if at all they get an attractive offer. What's an attractive offer? It's 20 million euros. And I think to Erik ten Hag, in the season that we are into, are not having loads of players that are really up for not having a lot of money to be able to spend. I think this is the time we came up with a best solution of really getting in players like Sabitzer on the chip, because of his quality, can match easily other players that are playing for other teams. That is Sabitzer for you. So when you look at Sabitzer, he's one of those players that we need at Manchester United, and I've gone ahead to reiterate and repeat it very many times, because he's of pure quality. And there is a moment I'm waiting for to see how Erik ten Hag is going to really use him when Casemiro is here, Eriksson, because I believe he can integrate them in the team and they play together. So with Ten Hag wanting to get his signings before we go to with Ten Hag wanting to get most of his signings, not all his signings, most of his signings before we go to the international break, before we go to the preseason, I think it will be naive of the board of United not to sign Sabitzer to be part of the preseason, because if we get him in early enough and we get in a center forward and a right back, those three signings at least can really take us through the preseason and we prepare for the season very, very well. But if at all we can't do that, then it will be so much naive. But if we happen to scoop Sabitzer, I think it will be really a very good signing. I've seen people coming and saying that he's not like Eriksson, he's not being played in very, very many times, but they're forgetting that even when Casemiro came in through, he was on the bench for very many games. I remember he came off the bench in the game of Southampton, Leicester City, Arsenal, which other game? Then we went into some 2 weeks without playing football because the Queen had really passed on and games were really suspended, and then he came in through and really started the game of Everton. So I think even Sabitzer is into that mold, and I believe he's a better player. And if you're told taking out Casemiro, if you're taking out Scott McTominay, I think it's better to bring in Sabitzer. He's a versatile player. He's dynamic, and I think you need a player like Casemiro, not Sabitzer. You need a player like Sabitzer into the team of Manchester United. Now, I'm talking about Sabitzer, and to me, I see him as a perfect replacement for Scott McTominay. And Scott McTominay, teams like West Ham and Newcastle are in need of him, but a story has been given to us by Chris Wilder from the Daily Mail that sources from Manchester United insist Scott McTominay has an important role to play for the rest of the season and won't be pushed out in the summer. There is a great deal of pride in his progress, plus degree of sensitivity around the idea of selling a homegrown player. So they're telling us that he has an important role and won't be pushed out in the summer. And when such stories come in through, I just ask myself, who is putting out such a story? Because you can't tell me that United is going to keep Scott McTominay. Why should we keep Scott McTominay? No reason, because he can't get enough playing minutes. And if I told him Scott McTominay, I would be pushing to leave the club. I no longer believe in not selling homegrown players because James Garner, who was a more proven player, was a player who had a better ceiling than Scott McTominay. That's it. He had a better ceiling than Scott McTominay, but he was sold for £15 million. And if at all you get a person or a team to pay you £30 million for Scott McTominay, why don't you let him go? Why don't you let him go? However much they say it's a homegrown talent, but if we let Ghana go, why should we keep Scott McTominay? I see no reason of keeping Scott McTominay at the club of Manchester United because he's surplus to requirement. If at all you are having Casemiro, Eriksson, Sabitzer, Fred, you get Scott McTominay. That means he is fifth fiddle. If he has not been able to get minutes when we are lacking like two midfielders of quality that Erik Ten Hag wants on his team, then how is it going to be next season? I think the wisest move that Scott McTominay can do is to force a move out of Manchester United. That's it. It's time for him to move on. It's time for him to move on. And when you look at his contract, I think it expires in 2025. So he has to find solutions for his career. And I think Ten Hag is going to let him know that, please, we can no longer really be with you here. And he's earning a decent amount of money. I think he's earning close to £140,000 a week. So let him out. Give that money to Sabitzer. Get him in. And we're looking for another player that can play the CDM at Manchester United. That's it. So I think, however much they are putting out such a story, but Scott McTominay needs to leave the club of Manchester United. I don't see any importance of him at Manchester United because he's not getting enough playing time. Unless otherwise Scott McTominay is just enjoying to be at start Manchester United, being a poster boy sometimes, you get, releasing the new kit, and obviously being one of those players that is really so much onto the front of the graphics that United produce to promote those jerseys. But the rest of the stuff is really nothing to me, and I don't see the reason as to why Scott McTominay should be there. Now, Alejandro Garnacho having been injured in the game of Southampton and is expected to return towards the end or end of April. Another story has really been thrown in here. Having missed out on the under-20 of the Argentinian side, remember, United said, no, we're not going to do that because it's not sanctioned by FIFA, but there is another FIFA tournament that is sanctioned and Argentina is supposed to take part in it, and guess who has been called to really be part of this? It's obviously Alejandro Garnacho is expected to play for Argentina in the Under-20 World Cup, which starts in May. All clubs are forced to let their youngsters go to the competition if called up. So it shows you that we have no say on this. For the other tournament in South America, I had to say because it was not sanctioned by FIFA, but this one is sanctioned by FIFA, and obviously he needs to find his way to go there and play for the national team of Argentina. So, but as it stands, we might miss out on Alejandro Garnacho, but to me, I think we are going to miss him out, but I 100% believe we are really having depth into those positions. If we can keep Anton Martial fit, Sancho is there, Pelestu is there, Elanga is there, we can pass through that. We can thrive through that. So guys, your thoughts onto Sabitzer rejecting Bayern return are welcome in the comment section below. What are your thoughts about Scott McTominay, that United won't force him out of the club? It won't be like forcing him out. I believe he needs to get out. And I think Ten Hag will tell him that for the best of your career, you should find a club that's supposed to be played frequently. And what do you think about Alejandro Garnacho returning back from injury towards May? And obviously, he's going to be put into the under-20 of Argentina to play in the World Cup there. So Rokan David remains my name. I sign out for now. See you later. First video of the day. More is yet to come. Liverpool Man City is on. Still 1-1. Let's wait and see how that ends. Tomorrow we are going to be hosted by Newcastle, St. James's Park. To my Muslim friends, Ramadan Kareem, and obviously to my Christian friends, may the Lord bless you abundantly. I'm out.